Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Poland has joined the mission to free Europe from Starlink dependence. Polish Interior Minister Marcin Kierwiński and European Commissioner for Defense and Space Andrius Kubilius signed an agreement in Warsaw on Tuesday, making Poland one of 6 key contributors to the European Union's 10.6 billion IRIS² satellite program. The move places Poland at the center of Europe's push for secure communications, technological sovereignty, and greater resilience as space becomes an increasingly important part of the continent's security architecture. Joining us now is Jacek Mandas, Vice President of the Management Board, Creotech Instruments, to give us more on all this. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. Good morning.
So I know you know about this, but tell us a little bit for the average viewer watching right now. What exactly is IRIS²? What is its role, its scale? Tell us a bit more about this.
First of all, it's very important European undertaking in terms of space sector. So it's going to be one of the largest space program in Europe. Second of all, it's a communication constellation. So we all know that there are communication constellations starting from US, like Elon Musk's constellation, which is already operational. There is China building one. Other countries are starting, and Europe is joining this team with the program IRIS². Very important for the space sector, very important for the resilience and the communication.
And also you mentioned there, I mean, if we just go into, I believe this is the third major space program that the European Union has pushed. I think Galileo was, one of the first. But this one is slightly different, isn't it? This has to do more with security, right? And also digital sovereignty of it. Tell us a bit more why this is a little bit different.
Yes, of course. Times are different. And that's why we are more focused in space on military aspects. So IRIS² constellation will bring us a connectivity not only for the civilian use, as it is with the US constellation, but for other purposes as well. So it's a bit different in terms of construction as well. It's, as you mentioned, it's going to be the largest European program. After the Galileo, after Copernicus, IRIS² and EOGS, another program will come, the largest programs in Europe. So very important, very different from what we did in the past in Europe. Very fragmented in terms of countries contributing to those.
And also it's interesting because you have Poland now as one of the major contributors, just signed on Tuesday, as I mentioned, 656 million euros to the program. So tell us a bit more about Poland's role in all this on an operational level. What will Poland be contributing? What will it gain out of all this as well?
So Poland joined with more or less 10% of the budget of the program with 600 plus million euro. So you can imagine how big the program is. We joined with the very important aspects of the program. So we would like to first increase the availability of the program to Polish stakeholders. We would like to have a foot in the door in running train, because the program IRIS² is already going on program. So we are joining during the execution of the program. So that's the difference. So we are not building the consortium, the major one. We are joining to the one which is already operational. That's an important aspect. And why it's important for Polish space sector? Because it's the largest one, as I already mentioned, and we hope to have important contribution as a space sector and as a Polish industry.
And then also the other layer of this, I mean, it's about, as you said, resilience and security, but in a way, I think it's also about sovereignty, right? Yes. Sovereignty for Europe. How much is that, let's say, a driving force? I mean, at the same time, it's also seen as something which is supposed to reduce the reliance on foreign tech. For instance, Starlink, right?
Yes, exactly. So we won't be able to, if we won't be able to use foreign networks, we can use ourselves. So this is, of course, very important aspect. And we know that Elon Musk's constellation is a fully private constellation which can be switched off simply. So we as a Europe, we cannot be in such a situation that to have a connectivity or the connection between troops or between resilience units, etc. And of course, the last, not least aspect is for civilian use. But it's the, I think, last one.
But on that note, I want to ask you a bit further, because I mean, if we look at Starlink, I mean, that, as you said, a private company, but the scale is also massive. I think something like 10,000 satellites since 2019, right? And I think more are planned. How many are planned right now for IRIS², and can those numbers ever really compete?
It's different constellation, first of all. So the constellation, US constellation, consists of 10,000 plus, and it's growing. But the orbit is low Earth orbit. That means it's above 500 kilometers above the Earth. The IRIS² constellation construction is different. So we will have a few layers, low Earth orbit layer around 500, 600, 700 to even a bit more, plus MEO orbit, higher one with smaller number of satellites, and GEO. So instead of comparing to Elon Musk constellation, one layer, here we have several layers, but lower number of satellites. In total, answering your question, it will be 200 plus satellites.
But in terms of actual functionality, does that mean they provide the same kind of service and connection as, let's say, the Starlink ones on a different orbit, or is it a different type of signaling?
It's a bit different. Nevertheless, it's providing the same comparable coverage with the lower number of satellites, because the satellites which are higher, let me call it like that, can greater coverage. That means that the split of 3 or more layers means that we will have a similar coverage, but it's a different construction, so the devil lies in details. It's about latency, of course, of the signal, but at the end of the day, the usage of the constellation should be similar.
So that, in other terms, if I'm getting this correctly, does that mean that the IRIS², the European project, would be more efficient? I mean, less satellites and the same amount of range, or?
It's different. It's different. US constellation consists of 10,000 plus because of the fact that it's targeted to civilian use mostly. So to have a lot of satellites, to have signal everywhere. European constellation is different. It has different usability at the end of the day. Nevertheless, coverage will be the same.
And then also, I mean, putting into this, as you said, like there's a lot of the constellation Starlink uses that's available for civilian use, commercial use at the same time.
Yes.
The European Commission is moving ahead with actually going, this is a bit technical now, reserving some of that satellite spectrum actually just for European companies and leaving American companies out. How does this play into all of this?
There is a consortium which is called IRIS², which consists of European companies. It's SES, Eutelsat, Hispasat, and others. So it's already a discussion that you can to have European entities in the room. Of course, in terms of capitals which are behind some companies, it's not so simple, because today's companies are multinational usually. Nevertheless, to have the technology in Europe is a very important point. And to have Poland in the room is, of course, more than important for us.
Yeah. And then also, I think on the wider level of space technology, space sector, I mean, give us a bit of the scale of Polish companies that would benefit. I mean, this is one element, right? The whole infrastructure of IRIS², but then also the space sector as a whole. Tell us the kind of numbers. How many companies are we talking? I think several hundred, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, now in Poland we have several hundred companies involved in space sector. Of course, all companies are different, and space sector is growing massively since 2010, and after 2015, 16, 17, it increased massively. Of course, comparing to old European countries, let me call it like that, we are still a much smaller sector. Nevertheless, we have already a capability to build satellites, to IRIS² and other programs. We have capability to build all the equipment or majority of equipment to such programs. because we overran several avenues in the meantime, so we didn't have 30 years to grow, we had 10, and we did our job. So to answer your question in one word, we are smaller, but we are ready, and we are delivering products to European Space Agency, we are delivering space products to global contributors.
And as you said, it's also a network. I mean, there's also the European Space Agency. Poland is also a member of that. We've just had that recent, I think, security center that's being opened here in Poland as well.
Yes.
So that Polish footprint, it seems, is growing. But I'm also curious, back to IRIS² a little bit, if we're looking at the timeline of this. I mean, there's a lot being said by the European Commission, by Mr. Kubilius, the commissioner. What are we looking at in terms of when all of these satellites are launched, when this constellation can be operational and functional?
Yes, so the constellation should be functional, operational at the end of the decade. So it will be 29, 30, maybe 31. It depends which layers of the constellation. And referring to your previous question, in terms of Polish space sector, we hope to have as big a footprint as we can here. So it's still not defined finally which elements will be delivered by Poland. Of course, it was mentioned about ground segment, which is receiving stations and other equipment. We are hoping for satellites to have a footprint in a network, in a real infrastructure. Then we will have control.
So then, just closing question, I mean, let's also look at the future. So in the next, let's say, where we are already, the next sort of 5-10 years, where do you see Poland's role in all of this and all of the space tech and everything?
Very good question. As I mentioned, it will be 200 plus satellites, so much above, and I think in decade after it will be even more. So I hope Poland will have important amount of satellites delivered from Poland to have real influence on the constellation of the installation we are building in Europe.
Interesting, and I think also as they've contributed already, I think 12 satellites at this point in time for IRIS² or something in that number.
I heard that number. Let's try to have it signed.
Yeah, all right. So even more optimistic. Great. So that was Jacek Mandas there from Creotech Instruments. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. But stay right here on TVP World for more news and commentary. Goodbye.